I'm Sarah Swart, the behaviorist working with Bass River. We're thinking we're going to accept Jack. Jack is an older man in his 60s who has some serious health concerns. So we need to spend this time reviewing how to manage him as a new guy. Part 1, Jack. Jack spent 30 years living with his family and parents. While he lived at home, he attended Danvers High School and he did odd jobs around town. He went to places like Morgan Memorial and Heritage Industries, but he didn't stick long with any program. At this time, his guardian is his niece, Jean. He remains close to his brother and his sister. Jack is described as friendly, helpful, likable, funny, observant, highly conversational. He has a girlfriend named Lois. He's great at woodworking, and he plays the guitar. He used to love to eat out at McDonald's, but one of his health concerns means he can only have McDonald's once every month or two. Jack loves classic country music like Patsy Cline, George Strait, Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn, Merle Haggard. He has a record player and a CD player, and those are his prized possessions. Jack has a trauma history and has been through failure to thrive, like too many of our individuals. Unlike most of our guys, Jack has a history of alcoholism. He's been in a locked unit for rehab. Jack needs to leave his current placement because it's being converted into a young women's residence. He hates disruptions to his routines. So take a second and imagine how he's feeling about that, his need to move. As I said at the outset, Jack has some serious health concerns. He has congestive heart failure, cardiac arrhythmia, and a double hernia. He has been in a hospital awaiting surgery for the double hernia, only to be discharged due to his heart condition. Jack is anemic and pre-diabetic, and in the past he's had an intestinal obstruction. He has high cholesterol and GERD. He's obese and has high blood pressure. These conditions sound like they're enough, but he has more than 25 conditions that affect his day-to-day functioning. Jack's diet is modified to accommodate his heart health, his high cholesterol, and another condition called bilateral edema. The edema is represented by swelling on both sides of his body, and it's probably tied to a hormonal condition called SIADH, S-I-A-D-H. His fluid intake is restricted due to SIADH, as well as due to his edema, his congestive heart failure, his medications, and probably additional conditions. Jack's hearing is seriously challenged, to the point that he's nearly deaf. But he loves to listen to his music, so being deaf, that can be loud. He's hard on headphones, so most often he doesn't have a pair available. At times he's had a portable amplifier, but he doesn't have one right now. He is due for an audiology appointment. Jack's diet and fluid intake are both restricted. His diet is low carb, low sugar, high fruit, and high vegetable. His fluid intake is to be no more than 32 ounces a day. There will be a question about these restrictions on the quiz after this training. Again, his diet is low carb, low sugar, high fruit, and high veg. His fluid intake is restricted to 32 ounces a day. Part 2, Rules to help us work with Jack. One of the most important things to know about Jack is that he has a really fragile self-image, one that cannot tolerate being critiqued or shamed, okay? Like we had to for C several weeks ago, we need to learn some basic rules of engagement for working with Jack. There are 5 of those rules, and they are: avoid negative wording, give him lots of positive feedback and praise, Ask questions. Based on what you expect his reaction will be, shape your remarks. Use an ounce of pretense with a pound of respect. So the first rule of engagement: avoid negative wording in conversations with Jack. He has triggers, just like C has, just like A has. Jack's triggers are all interpersonal, every single one. That means he gets triggered by staff and by housemates. One of the things that triggers Jack is negative wording. You may remember from the prior training, those words include don't, can't, no, stop, but, not, won't. We also will be removing from our vocabulary the words that deny choice and control. That means we won't be saying things like have to, need to, must. This ought to feel pretty normal to us at this point. Haven't we been practicing it with our other gentlemen? I assume we have been. Jack will benefit from us avoiding negative words even more than they do. I'm not going to give you examples here because this should be old hat. And because there will be a quiz after this training, keep in mind the 5 rules of engagement. The first of those rules is avoid negative words. The second rule of engagement. Second, give Jack lots of positive feedback and praise. You may remember when I said in the training before C arrived that the 2 new guys have fragile self-images. Said that earlier this training as well. Jack needs positive feedback when he does something right, and he needs positive feedback when he does something wrong. Now bear in mind, by following the guidance here, we're not rewarding bad behavior. What we're doing is helping Jack learn better ways to function. And also we're not shaming him. It's clear that someone at some point did a number on him with shame. Shame is not a teaching tool.